can feel it before you can explain it. That slow erosion inside, when you're constantly giving, constantly adjusting, constantly holding space, and somehow it's never enough. You start doubting yourself, wondering if you're too cold, too distant, not soft enough, not spiritual enough, all because she says she's hurting, and it must be your fault. But what if it's not? What if what you're calling love is actually you carrying someone else's unprocessed story? What if you've mistaken her pain for depth, her collapse for vulnerability, her chaos for feminine wisdom? And what if you, the man built for clarity, for structure, for grounded presence, have been trained to betray your truth, just to keep a woman from crying? This is the trap no one warns you about. Not because they don't see it, but because it's dangerous to say out loud. That not every feminine expression is sacred. That not every tear deserves your protection. That some women are still unconsciously addicted to being saved. And if you don't learn to see it, you'll lose yourself trying to rescue someone who doesn't want to rise, only to be rescued again. This scroll is not a rant, it's a mirror. A mirror for the solar masculine who's done bending. A mirror for the man who remembers his fire. A mirror for the men who are no longer available for manipulation in goddess clothing. This is not about blaming women, it's about reclaiming polarity, restoring the masculine, and revealing the truth behind the wounded feminine that too many men silently suffer under. Welcome to Solar Love Frequency. Let's begin. You've heard it before. She just needs to be loved harder. She's emotional, be patient. She's been through a lot. That's why she lashes out. She's the divine feminine in pain. She just needs a king to awaken her. Stop. That script has cost men their core. That script has cost women their truth. Because beneath it is a dangerous inversion. A woman who believes her wound is her power. A woman who uses pain like a language. A woman who hasn't learned to feel without turning feeling into a weapon, and no one calls it out because it's wrapped in softness, in goddess language, in tears and trauma talk, in pretty words that hide raw distortion. This is the wounded feminine, not the woman healing, the woman who's made her wound her identity, the woman who's unconsciously addicted to being the victim, the woman who's mastered the art of being too hurt to take responsibility. She doesn't want to control the world. She wants the world to revolve around her pain. And here's the hard truth most won't say. This version of the feminine is killing polarity because she drains the masculine, because she doesn't rise, she clings, because she demands without offering balance, because her emotions aren't waters to be held, they're tidal waves meant to test. Now let's be clear, pain isn't the enemy, trauma happens. Wounds are real, but wounds are meant to be cleaned, not crowned. What's dangerous is when the feminine uses her unhealed pain to manipulate, to control, to test devotion endlessly, never to meet it, but to feed off it. She says she wants a strong man, but when strength shows up, it terrifies her. So she pokes it, she undermines it, she emotionally vomits on it and demands he just hold space forever, not to heal, but to stay in power. Because power, for the wounded feminine, isn't rooted in truth. It's rooted in emotional leverage, and here's where men get trapped. The masculine, in its purity, wants to protect, to heal, to rise and lift, to hold her through the storm. But this version of the feminine, she is the storm and doesn't want to pass. Because the storm gets her attention, it gets her control, it gets her praise for being deep while doing zero inner work. She confuses drama with depth, collapse with vulnerability, tears with truth, chaos with character, and the world coddles it. Because she's a woman, because she's been through things, because how dare you call out the feminine wound when we live in a patriarchy, right? Wrong. Solar truth doesn't coddle gender. Solar truth doesn't bend to blame. Solar truth burns away distortion no matter who's wearing it. And right now, the biggest distortion the feminine wears is her own pain as power. Let's talk about what happens to a man who falls in love with the wounded feminine, not the healing woman, not the heart-led feminine doing her shadow work. We're talking about the one who hides behind it, the woman who uses her past as permission to never grow, the woman who wields guilt like a blade, the woman who unconsciously wants a father, not a partner, but demands he pretend otherwise. She needs saving, she needs softness, she needs presence, but not so she can rise, so she can stay right where she is. So the man, especially the solar-hearted man, shows up. He brings everything: clarity, compassion, patience, provision, emotional intelligence, real masculine presence. And at first she melts, she praises his strength. She says, finally, a real man. But here's what happens next. The deeper he shows up, the more she projects. She starts to blame him for her feelings, for her triggers, for her discontent. Because if he really loved her, she wouldn't be feeling this, right? She starts asking for things that can't be given. Not because he won't, but because they're not his to give. She wants him to regulate her nervous system, while she keeps burning holes in it with every spiral. She wants him to validate her, while she refuses to question a single belief. She wants him to never abandon her, while she keeps emotionally abandoning herself. And if he calls it out, if he lovingly names the loop, if he points out that she's stuck in the same spiral for the 10th time this month, she'll say he's gaslighting her, that he's unsafe, that he doesn't understand the feminine, that he's trying to dominate her. He's not. He's trying to hold her, but she's refusing to be held by anything other than her own story. The wounded feminine doesn't want wholeness, she wants special treatment. She wants all the benefits of being seen as sacred, without doing the inner work that makes her trustworthy to receive it. And the masculine, he starts to shrink, not because he's weak, but because he's slowly being conditioned to question his own truth in the name of keeping the peace. He starts editing himself, speaking more gently, agreeing more than he means to, bending, softening, pleasing, until he's unrecognizable. And still, it's not enough. Because nothing is enough for a woman who feeds on emotional validation instead of genuine growth. That man becomes hollow. And here's the kicker: she'll eventually leave him. Not with gratitude, not with appreciation for how deeply he tried, but with resentment. She'll say he never truly understood her, that he never made her feel safe, that he lacked emotional depth, that he was too much in his head. She'll rewrite the story to protect her ego, and he, broken and confused, will carry the blame for a relationship that was never built on shared responsibility. Let's pause here. This is not about bashing women. This is not about elevating men. This is about energetic maturity, because as long as we keep pretending that all feminine expressions are sacred, even the toxic ones, we will never have real union. The wounded feminine is not sacred. She's seductive, she's emotional, she's intense, but she's not trustworthy. Because she doesn't take ownership of her power. She expects the masculine to be the mountain, while she keeps throwing emotional storms at him with no intention of clearing her own sky. And polarity? It dies, not because he wasn't strong enough, but because she refused to meet him. Let's go deeper. There's a kind of woman who remembers. She still carries wounds. She still has days when her nervous system flares up, when she gets reactive, when her story tries to hijack her breath. But she takes a breath. She sees it. She owns it. She doesn't weaponize it. She knows her triggers are not sacred signs of someone else's failure. She knows her emotions are valid, but not always true. She doesn't ask a man to save her from herself. She meets him eye to eye and says, "I'm working through this. I'm not going to make you the enemy of my evolution." That is the healed feminine. She doesn't perform spiritual jargon to hide her immaturity. She doesn't post quotes about emotional responsibility while bleeding chaos into every connection. She doesn't call it embodiment when it's really just emotional volatility. She's soft because she's strong. She's surrendered because she's rooted. And when a man meets her, he doesn't feel confused. He feels seen. Because she's not trying to twist him into her ideal fantasy. She's not trying to remold his masculine essence. She's not trying to decode him. She feels him. She respects him. She lets him lead because he leads himself. Now contrast that with the wounded feminine. She may be beautiful. She may be intuitive. She may speak like a mystic. But her energy is a vortex, not a sanctuary. She pulls you in, and then she pulls you apart. Her intimacy feels like a high, not a home. One moment she's the girl of your dreams. The next, she's a courtroom lawyer dissecting your every word. She doesn't want clarity, she wants control. She doesn't want sovereignty, she wants submission, dressed up as support. And here's where it gets tricky. She doesn't even know she's doing it. Because in her story, she's the one who's always been hurt. So any moment you hold your ground, you're being controlling. Anytime you protect your truth, you're emotionally unavailable. Any boundary you set becomes toxic masculinity. And if you walk away, you're abandoning the feminine. You're not abandoning anything. You're reclaiming your energy from a script that was never yours to carry. This is the hard truth most men never say out loud. You're not crazy. You're not emotionally stunted. You're not insensitive. You've just been conditioned to betray yourself to earn a version of feminine love that isn't love at all. It's addiction. And this addiction has a cycle. 1. She breaks down. 2. You show up. 3. She clings harder. 4. You shrink more. 5. She loses attraction. 6. You get blamed. 7. Repeat. Until one day you wake up next to her and feel like a ghost in your own life. That's the cost of carrying a woman's wound for her. It may feel noble. It may feel romantic. But in truth, it's self-erasure. And no woman, not even the most radiant one, is worth betraying your own energy. Because here's what the solar masculine remembers. You're not here to be her therapist. You're not here to babysit her triggers. You're not here to carry the weight of her unprocessed lineage. You're here to be a sovereign flame. You are here to bring order to the field, not to fix what won't meet itself. Now, some of you might say, but what if I love her? What if I see her potential? Love her, but don't lose yourself. See her potential, but only walk with her if she's walking too. Because the man who trades his edge for her approval, the man who gives up his power in the name of patience, the man who over-explains, over-supports, over-sacrifices, he doesn't awaken her feminine, he awakens her mother. And the moment she feels like your emotional parent, attraction dies, not because she's broken, but because that's not her role, and she knows it. Here's the truth you've always felt, but never had the words for. She can't follow a man who follows her emotions. She can't soften into love if you're always softening your truth. She doesn't feel safe with a man who abandons himself to protect her feelings. And deep down, she doesn't even want that. What she wants, even if she's forgotten, is a mirror, not a sponge. She wants to look into your eyes and feel your spine. She wants to test your edges, not to destroy you, but to feel if they're real. Because if your boundaries wobble, if your truth bends, if your soul dilutes just to keep her close, she doesn't feel devotion, she feels danger. Not the kind you think, not physical, not verbal, but the spiritual danger of a man who has lost his signal, a man who speaks of purpose but is secretly performing for peace. That's when the feminine collapses. She doesn't trust you anymore, not because you betrayed her, but because you betrayed yourself. And no woman can rest in the arms of a man who doesn't trust his own stance. Now let's anchor this in your bones. You are not here to fix her. You are not here to prove anything. You are not here to babysit her feelings. You are here to be a field of clarity, a solar presence, the kind that doesn't flinch when she spirals, the kind that doesn't chase when she withdraws, the kind that doesn't need to win her back, because you never left yourself. This is not about domination. This is not about polarity games. This is about truth, your truth. Because when you're rooted in that truth, no woman can unman you. Not with silence, not with seduction, not with sabotage. Because you see it for what it is. Not evil, not manipulation. Just unhealed feminine survival patterns trying to find a home in your nervous system. And that's where the solar man draws the line. Not out of coldness, out of love. You don't stay in the fire just to prove your loyalty. You walk out of it to remind her that heat doesn't equal home. And when she's ready to rise, to own her shadows, to meet you as a mirror, not a mother, she'll know where to find you. But you won't be waiting. You'll be building. You'll be becoming. You'll be crafting the empire your soul came here to lead, not just for women, not for validation, but because your soul remembers the mission. That's what flips the script. That's what ends the loop. That's what magnetizes her back, not as a broken reflection, but as a sovereign woman walking beside you. But even if she never comes, you're already whole, because your love is no longer a transaction, it's no longer a service, it's no longer a performance for feminine approval. It's your essence, it's your offering. It's the flame that burns whether anyone applauds it or not. Let this be your remembering. You are not here to decode confusion. You are not here to fix women's wounds. You are not here to apologize for being solid. You are here to lead from truth, to speak with clarity, to walk with purpose. And the right feminine will find safety not in your softness, but in your stability. Not in how easily you yield, but in how clearly you stand. If this transmission shook something awake inside you, you're not alone. This channel exists to remind the solar masculine of his throne, to break the victim scripts, to reclaim your energy, to rebuild your presence. So if you're done performing, done pleasing, and ready to lead from a deeper truth, subscribe to Solar Love Frequency, leave a comment, not for attention, but to anchor the memory. Share this scroll with a brother who forgot who he is. You were not born to chase approval. You were born to command reality with your presence. No more shrinking, no more fixing, only truth, only fire, only forward. Your throne never left you. It's been waiting. Now sit on it. Welcome to Solar Love Frequency.